Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Up the Guts podcast. Joining as always is your host, Tricky, and it is the second episode of the week. It is the preview show going into the Anzac Day round 7. So this is where we preview all our rounds. If you haven't already gone and watched the review of round 6, make sure to go back and listen to that when you get a spare time. But this is where we preview all the action that's coming up in round 7. Obviously, the Anzac Day round with the big game being Collingwood and Essendon. But without further ado, let's not muck around. Let's get straight into the matches with my tips and predictions. Let's go now. All right, so the first match, Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. at the MCG. We got Melbourne v Richmond, so it's 17th v 15th. Now, we saw Melbourne notch up their first win of the season, and we also saw Richmond win their second win of the season in a surprising fashion. No one really thought that... I don't think people thought that they could have gone winless this season, Richmond. But they've come out already only after 6 rounds and won two already. So I think this is going to be a really interesting game. Let me just have a look at the teams. No, teams haven't been announced as of yet. So sometimes it'll probably be announced the Thursday night game in the next hour or so. But at the moment, it hasn't been announced. But I reckon it might be a bit of an interesting match, but I'm going to do the tipping as I go along let me just pull up my tips. So I've got the matches up, but I may as well, as I'm talking to you, do my tips as I go, as well as we just load that up now. Tip now. So I'm going to be back in Melbourne and in this game, and I think I hope Cozzy Pickett shows up again because that would be beautiful for Thursday night footy. It'll be interesting to see if they bring Bailey Fritsch back in and Jacob Van Rooyen, but their forward line seemed to work okay, especially with Cozzy Pickett playing centre forward and impacting the scoreboard, but also getting it through the midfield. It'll be interesting to see if they pursue with Harrison Petty again forward after kicking 4 goals. And Richmond, I thought last week, just played with all heart. Timmy Taranto and Jacob Hopper led the way, and Nick Vossen, as he always does, intercepted the ball down there and gathered plenty of metres gained and uses the ball exceptionally well every week. But I think I'm going to be going with Melbourne, as it is the first game of the round. We have to pick a margin, so I'm going to be picking Melbourne by just 20 points. So I don't think it's going to be a massive smashing, but I'm interested to see how Cozzy Pickett plays. And even if Richmond, I don't know, tell a youngster to go run with him, or they put someone on a truck or something like that. So I think that will be interesting pack. But for that factor, I'm going to be going with Melbourne by 20 points over Richmond. And then the next match, the big match of the round, the one that stops everyone sits down and watches. It's a sellout crowd at the MCG. It's Collingwood v Essendon, 3:20 p.m. MCG, Anzac Day. This will be an interesting match, but I think Collingwood have just come out and they look unreal the last few games. And I know I'm being biased, but I'm also wary with if they get a few injuries, how that would look for them. But I think, Essendon have started off the year right. They were a bit disappointing last week, only narrowly getting over West Coast. So props to them for holding off West Coast and not losing to them. But I think Collingwood will get this job done. So I'll be picking Collingwood, and I'm interested to see if they run Sam Durham on Nick Dacos again, and how if Collingwood are watching the likes of a Zach Merritt, because he's the type of that will change the game if he's impacting the scoreboard there. But then also I think they might keep an eye on Nick Martin, because when Nick Martin has the ball in his hands, they're not going to want him impacting the scoreboard as much as he does. Now, gamble responsibly, as they always say, but I'm going to give my tip for the Anzac Day medal. And now the obvious person is to say Nick Dacos. With a Collingwood win, he's paying $3.50. But now if I go down the pack here, I'm having a look and 2 names pop out to me. Obviously, both their ruckmans are now injured. Essendon, so Todd Goldstein comes in at 37 years old. Amazing story that I don't think Essendon would have been thinking they'd have to use him this early. 2 names are popping out to me. One's paying $13 and one's paying $21. Now, if I have a look, I think I'm going to be going to $21. I'm going to... am I? I think I'm going to be backing Darcy Cameron for the Anzac Day medal over Todd Goldstein, and I'm going to have something on Darcy Cameron, but I'm also going to have something on As a Smoky Still Side, but I'm paying at $13. Let me know below who you'll be backing for the Anzac Day medal. But they're my 2 tips. As something, obviously, Nick Dacos is just the given to go for, but I'm looking at Sidebottom and Darcy Cameron for this one. Um, So, yeah, and if Essendon do somehow manage to win this, I think it will be Zach Merritt, and you get an easy $10 powered by Sportsbet for that one. No partnership there, just what the app that I use. Gamble responsibly, as always. But Collingwood for the win, and Darcy Cameron or Still Sidemorden for Anzac Day medal for me. And then there's actually another game on Friday night as well. And I don't know, how do you guys feel about the Anzac Day being a doubleheader with another game the other night? I don't know how I feel about it because since 1995, the tradition obviously started off the first Anzac Day game against Collingwood and Essendon and started off with a draw. So what a start that was. But I don't know how to feel about another match following because I think it's such a prestigious game that it should be held on its own. With the Collingwood and Essendon, with the rivalry that they built up, with the tradition they built up. They've only recently in the last few years, I'm pretty sure, brought in that second game, which is Fremantle and Adelaide. But let me know, do you want to be able to see a second game on that night, or are you happy sticking with tradition and just having Collingwood and Essendon and then the Friday night's freeze? Let me know what you think about that. But nevertheless, it's Fremantle v Adelaide at Optus Stadium, and this one's going to be interesting because Adelaide did get the win last week over GWS Giants, but what a boring game that was to watch. One of the more boring games you will see, literally in my preview, if you've listened to that. I didn't even talk about the game. In my talking points was, skip this game, boring. So I didn't even talk about it. That's how boring it was. But nonetheless, Adelaide did get the win. But I think where the game's going to be won, I think the person who's finding his feet is Shea Bolton. He's really finding his feet for Freo. It's taken him a few weeks, but last week he was phenomenal. Kicked 3 out of about 18 disposals. It's just what he does when he gets the ball. Something always happens when he's around him. He also had like 12 score involvements from his 18 disposals, which is phenomenal. He's centre forward. He's playing a bit more half forward rather than midfield half forward like he was with Richmond. With the stacked midfield that they have, like Sarong, Brayshaw, O'Meara, Young. He's just spending a bit more time half forward, and there's no one else you'd rather have the ball in the hands of. It's Bolton and it's Hayden Young going inside forward 50. So I'm going to be backing Freo at home, but I'm also wary of what Isaac Rankin and Jordan Dawson can do, and Jake Saligo. That midfield is so strong, and I'm a big fan of Benny Keys. Just constantly gets the job done as a forward. He's a real goer, attacks the ball hard, and consistently hits the scoreboard. He's a good for a one-goal a game there. He's been kicking a fair few goals a game, actually. But I'm going to be going with the Fremantle Dockers purely just because it's at home. And that is 9th v 5th. So then Saturday, we started off at Marvel Stadium, 1:20 p.m. It's St Kilda, who are currently 12th, v Brisbane, who are second. Brisbane lost their first win of the season, the reigning premiers of last year, going down to Collingwood in a big way, though. It looked really disappointing. I expected them to bounce back in this one and take home the win over St Kilda, purely for just their power that they have at all facets of the ground. One player I think that's been poor the last 12 to 18 months and needs to lift is Charlie Cameron. I think he really needs to lift, especially in the absence now of Joe Daniher. He needs someone to stand up. He's not a key forward, I get it, but we need the Charlie back. The running, even if you play him deeper, and play him out of the square a bit more. Obviously, you got Logan Morris down there, but I just think Charlie really needs to lift. Hugh McCluggage, I've mentioned, is having a really good year, and Josh Dunkley always goes underrated. But I'm going to be going with the Brisbane Lions for that one. Then at 4:15 p.m. at the Adelaide Oval, it's Port Adelaide, who are currently 10th, v North Melbourne, who is 16th, and North have been very disappointing this season. I'm going to be going with Port Adelaide in pretty comfortably. Connor Rosie off halfback's been really good the last 2 weeks, and kicking goals from halfback as well. Jason Horne-Francis is playing some unreal footy. Zach Butters coming back in their team has added a bit more electricity through that midfield. Condolences out to Ollie Wines. I hope he's recovering okay from that heart condition. And Mitch Georgiades is a really good key forward who just kicks you a couple goals a game. And he flies high for everything. Might not hold him all the time, but geez, he flies high and have a go. And he's really good in front of goal for a couple goals a game. So that's really impactful. And then you got Will Arioli down there who kicks a couple. He's been kicking a couple of games as well. And Sam Palpepper started off this season really well, I think, too. So I think Port Adelaide get the job done comfortably over North Melbourne. I'm tipping anywhere from 60 to 80 points this one. Then 7:35 p.m. down at Canberra, Manuka Oval, we got the GWS Giants v the Western Bulldogs, 4th v 8th. And we know the rivalry that this is ever since the 2016 prelim, one of the best games you'll sit down and watch. If you had the chance, go back and watch that. The intensity in that game, I think Bulldogs were only won, I think it might have been 3 points. And yeah, there was spot fires everywhere, just attack on the ball, goals kicked everywhere. Tory Dixon, kicking, I think it was 3 or 4 in the first half, was phenomenal. It's just a great game to watch. So if you have a chance, go back and watch that. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Toby Bedford. Now, obviously they like to use Toby Bedford, or Snooze as they like to call him, as a tagger. And the ideal tag that they would have to do would be to go to Marcus Bontempelli. Now, look at the size of Toby Bedford. Now look at the size of Marcus Bontempelli. I think Marcus Bontempelli just monsters him. Absolutely. And then even if he does start to get under his skin, he'll just take him forward, take him to the square, and Toby Bedford will have no chance of competing with him with the height and brute strength that Bontempelli has. So I'm interested to see whether does he send him to Tom Liberatore? Does Toby Bedford go to Ed Richards? So it's going to be really interesting. Sorry, I just realised that my Bluetooth was still connected to the Roadcaster Pro, and a notification just came through. Do not disturb is now on. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go about with that. And I'm also interested to see who they play on Toby Green, how they're going to structure the forward line without Sam Darcy. This is the Western Bulldogs I'm now talking about. Is Aaron Norton going to look really good as the number one key forward? Because ideally, I think you want Aaron Norton pushing up the ground high, but can he now do that or not without him? Are they just going to be Aaron Norton and Smalls around him? Are they going to play Bontempelli more forward? So it's going to be an interesting game, an interesting thing to watch on the Saturday night, but I expect the GWS Giants to get that one done. Then we move over to Sunday and kicking it off at 1:15 p.m. at People First Stadium. It's Gold Coast Suns, who suffered their first loss on the weekend as well, currently third on the ladder, the Sydney Swans, who are struggling this year and 14th on the ladder now. At People First Stadium, Gold Coast, we should know from last year, Gold Coast do not lose at home, so they get this job done comfortably. Chad Warner's in a bit of a form, so I think he's definitely not having the same impact he had last year. Just not bursting away from stoppages and using the ball as well as he did. Last year, whenever he had the ball, something happened. It's just not the same this year. They should have won last week, 10 goals, 17. They had more scoring shots. Nick Blakey missed 3 goals that he would have normally at least kicked 1 or 2 of them, streaming off the half-back line. But Sydney Swans are really, really struggling. But I'm going to be picking Gold Coast Suns purely. They just don't lose at home. And good luck against Miller, Anderson, Rao, Jared Witt's in there. Ben King is on. Speaking of Ben King, is on fire. I just want to have a look. Is Ben King currently on top of the Coleman? That's what I just want to check. Yeah, so Ben King and Josh Tracy are equal on top of the Coleman on 18, closely followed by Nick Larkey on 17, and Jack Higgins equal second on 17 as well, and then Riley Thilthorpe on 16. So, good luck, because they played, I'm trying to think. With Joel Marley injured, they played Tom McCartan. They played him forward. And ideally, you'd want to play him back and put him on Ben King, but see how they go there. So I think Gold Coast Suns get this done pretty convincingly. The penultimate game of the round, it is Carlton v Geelong at 3:20 p.m. at the MCG. Now, I think this might be actually a really good game. It's 13th v 6. Carlton, although it was against North Melbourne and West Coast, North Melbourne and West Coast? No, I've completely got there. Is it North Melbourne, West Coast, North Melbourne, Richmond? 1 second. North Melbourne. Yeah, North Melbourne, West Coast. Although that's only against them, it's good to finally get those wins under the board. They'll be feeling a bit more confident going into this. But Geelong just look unreal with their new informed Patrick Dangerfield now, playing as a stay-at-home forward, kicking goals, impacting the scoreboard. Really good overhead. He'd be an absolute, nightmare magnet against an opposition coach to try and figure out who they're going to put on him, because you almost have to play key defence on him at the moment. But who are they? One that I'm thinking, maybe they go with Jack Silvani. It's the only thing I could think of there. And then Wiedering goes to Cameron. But Bailey Smith's been in unreal form, easily the best pickup of the year in the trade period. And I'm going to be going the Cats on this one. Now, for Hawthorn need to bounce back after the last 2 weeks. They've been down on form. Their kicking's been down, and what a way to do that. Marvel Stadium, 4:45 p.m. to round out the round. They have got West Coast, and they just get this done. There's no ifs or buts about it. They just get it done. They get it done conventionally. We know. I thought it might have been a bit more closer if they played it in Perth. But I think Hawthorn just get it done. There's not much discussion that needs to be said about this game. Well, there you have it, guys. There is my preview and predictions for round 7 going into it. Drop in the comments below your previews and your predictions and who you're looking forward to seeing. Not only your previews and predictions of the games, but your Anzac Day medalist winners. And also drop in a comment who needs to lift. That's something I'd like to get a discussion going. We're six rounds in now. Who needs to lift? A player who's down in form or someone you want to shine a light on. But thank you guys for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to leave a like and comment on this video. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss when we upload. Hit that subscribe button. Apple Podcasts and Spotify listeners, like and comment on this video. Notification bell on and hit the follow button. And please leave a 5-star rating because that's what gets the show out there. Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, I'll see you guys then.